started off with 8th grade summer. Me and my friends wanted to do track just to get in shape and to get ready for summer. And I know all of our other friends or athletes that we saw on the varsity teams had done track and they were doing well. So we also wanted to exceed and see how that would go. And then it just turned into something greater. When I first started doing track, it was more of anything my coach said, go faster. And I think now it's definitely become more about my technique. I think the speed is definitely there. It's just about making sure I'm being intentional of everything that I'm doing in the sport.
So, I mean, everybody remembers like being back in elementary school, middle school, the fastest kid on the playground. There's no really technicality to it. It's just, some kids are naturally faster than others. When you get that into track, it starts to narrow it into just everybody's fast. It requires a lot more technicality, with mechanics in terms of front side, back side mechanics, knee drive, how you're accelerating off the blocks, horizontal force production, then turning it into vertical force production. So it requires a lot of focus. You can't just go out there and just run as fast as possible. For multiple reasons. One, if you run a ton of sprints at top speed, you're probably going to get hurt. You need to, ease into that amount of volume. But also it requires strategic programming where, you're getting a certain amount of drill work in and then a certain amount of, top speed work. And then you can do like weighted sprinting, sled sprinting, things like that, where it's a little bit lower velocity, but you're still going to get some, positive training adaptations from it.
My sophomore track meet, it was AAU, the first time I'd ever competed AAU. I had only worked on my hurdles probably about 3 weeks before I competed in that AAU competition. And the top 6 would move on to Junior Olympics. And on my 6th hurdle, I clipped my right foot and I tripped. It took my whole balance off and I lost my speed, I lost my lead, and I was 8th place instead of 6th, and I didn't get to advance. So I told myself, okay, well, I barely had any training. Yes, it's unfortunate, but I still have time. I'm going to improve myself and work so that junior year, this does not happen. I remember waking up being so excited. I had it all on my calendar that it was finally meet day. I knew what I needed to do. I knew the plan that I wanted to execute today. So because of circumstances that I had no control over, I was not able to compete. And I remember in that moment, it was like my heart physically, if anything in my life was close to a panic attack, that is what I experienced in that moment. I went home, and after the meet, I remember driving home and thinking, this is not actually happening. I did not believe it. I went home, I was still in my uniform, I still had my bib number on. I just went straight in my bed and just started crying. But every time that I tried to tell myself that this was okay, I felt like a voice in my head telling me, well, no, it's not. And I realized that I didn't have to pretend that everything was okay in the span of a week. I could take that time to realize that I was sad and I was disappointed, and I was truly mad at God in that moment. I was speaking to him angrily. I just didn't understand, how could this fit into his plan? What does he gain? What glory does he get from this happening to me? And I remember going into PFP and expressing these emotions to both of my coaches, and Coach Alec and Coach Kyle were always telling me like all these different options, and they're like, we can't speak for God, but you can choose to either get up again and continue working on your craft, or let it go and not care about it and go into next year letting all of this bring you down, or let it be an obstacle that you overcome.
Disappointment is just inevitable, especially when it comes to sports. You're going to get to a point where you have one really hard setback, whether it's injury, maybe you're not playing as much as you want to, you lose a game or a race that you expect to win, things of that nature. And one thing we try to touch on the athletes is like they don't always know how to process it, but we always try to talk to them and teach them how important it is. Like when you get knocked back down, it's like, what do you do after that? Do you choose to lay down, or do you choose to stand back up and fight on and move on, right? And so that's one thing we really spoke to Sydel about. It's like, how do you handle the situation that you've been dealt? In a sense, it's like, are you going to allow it to make you quit and decide to do something else, or are you going to take that and use it as a fire, use it to fuel your fire to, to continue to persevere and push yourself even further the next time?
So junior year, I was emailing coaches using these templates that I would see online or hear about, and I would put in my information and then change it to how it could be authentic to my story. I sent probably 30 emails to coaches. Probably around April, a lot more responses started coming back, or I would get follows on my track Instagram, and all these coaches were interacting with me, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it. Despite that, I was still able to get recruited and offers from all these different coaches and schools that wanted me to be a part of their team, and that was just definitely the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I'm super proud of Sydel for her perseverance. There's been, she comes to 5:45 a.m. class with Alec and myself. There's been times where she's got an Uber to come to work out with us, which is just unthinkable, like how strong she is for doing that, and then going to school right after that. So I can't express how proud I am of all the hard work she's put in. She experienced some setbacks, sophomore, junior year in a sport that was relatively new to her. So she was going to be, considered a late bloomer in that sport. And it's definitely paid off with 16, schools looking at her and giving offers to come, run at their school.
And seeing her desire to learn and grow has been amazing. She is constantly coming up to Coach Kyle and I, just asking questions of, hey, how can I get faster? How can I improve this? How can I work on my nutrition? Like whatever it is, she's always seeking growth and seeking guidance. And so there's just a sense of, there's a level of humility that comes with that, just seeking, how can I learn? How can I grow more? And I know she's going to take that to college, whether it's in track or just in school in general. And I know it's going to make it very successful.